presents a new upcoming class. Stay tuned. Sacred Bonds by Darrell Abdullah Kirk. Yes, Sacred Bonds, navigating the depths of Muslim matrimony and the family.
Alhamdulillah, wassalat, wassalam ala wa rasulullah. I'd like to welcome everybody to our series entitled The Sacred Abode, which is all about establishing how to establish the Muslim home. And this is a great carryover from our series on marriage, because once you get married, that's the easy part. Then the hard part is trying to turn your home into an Islamic utopia for you and your family. The home is supposed to be a place of security. The home is supposed to be a place of peace and comfort. The home is where the woman's blessings lie, and the home is where the man's comfort lies. So this is a great series to begin during this sacred month of Ramadan, because one of the things you should be working on along with your righteousness with the law is to make your home filled with righteousness too, and to turn your home into a haven for you and your families. So tonight, what I'm going to do for this class, we're going to speak about how to handle some of the problems that come up within the house, such as jealousy, and also how to work on how to handle any confrontations or disputes that we may have within the home. Because some of the brothers here, as you guys know, Islam allows a man to have up to 4 wives. Okay, and we do have a lot of brothers here who do have more than 1 wife. Okay, we don't live in the same houses, thank God. In fact, it's not even encouraged to do anything like that. Every wife should have her own separate home. But even though they all have their own separate homes, jealousy comes up. Jealousy happens. Okay, a wife may accuse her husband of spending more time with one wife than her, and this happens a lot. That's why I strongly recommend that you brothers who do have 2, 3, or 4, that you guys try to abide by the example that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had. To keep down that type of jealousy. The Prophet Muhammad would leave and go to the mosque at Fajr. He would leave and go to the mosque at Fajr. Okay? And he would not come home to his wives until after Isha. Until after Isha. After Isha, he would make rounds to visit every single wife, beginning with the oldest, which was Sauda. He would go to their home and spend just maybe 30 minutes checking up on the children to see if there's anything that wife needs, the children need, and all of that. And he would never spend more time, with one. He would start with the oldest, and whoever's turn it was that night, he would end with her. And he would stay in her home until Fajr. So that's the type of mechanism that I would encourage you brothers to use. So that way, all that questioning and doubting about what you're doing and who you're with, won't come. I mean, like we were speaking about earlier in my 6:30 class, who was the life coach for the Prophet? For the Muslim. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the life coach for us. All we have to do is learn his sunnah and apply it, and that would help to keep down the problems we have in our personal relationships and in our personal lives. So let's look to see how Islam teaches us to deal with jealousies and confrontations within the home. Let me put the PowerPoint up on the screen for tonight. Okay, everybody should be able to see. Let me make it better. Okay, and I'm gonna make it little. Okay, inshallah, everybody can see. Let me make it bigger too, larger. Right, there we go. So this is the book. The book is entitled Sacred Abode. And this book is written by Brother Daryl Abdullah Kirk. You can buy the book on Amazon. It's only $13. And this is the second of the trilogy on marriage. This is the first book was the Sacred Bonds. We finished that. That spoke about the conditions of a valid marriage and all of that. Now, this is the second of the trilogy, Sacred Abode, which goes into establishing the Muslim home. And then there's a third that will be released too. So tonight we're going to cover pages 7 through 10 of the book, which speaks about how the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam handled jealousy and marital conflicts, which I think would be great for all of you, all of us, to apply into our personal relationships. Now, every Muslim knows there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, because perfection doesn't belong to us as humans. The only entity that is perfect is Allah. There is no perfection other than Allah. But the best marital marriage that you could ever hear about or learn about is the marriage between the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his wife Khadijah. As you all know, how could it not be a success? The Prophet Muhammad was the best human ever created. Okay, and Khadijah radiallahu anha is one of the most perfect women ever created. Their marriage, their relationship is a deep example of how every marriage should be based upon mutual respect, love, and collaboration. We are a team. We are a partnership. We work together. So the Prophet Muhammad's marriage to his wife Khadijah illustrates how roles within a family can be well defined, and how if we define our roles based on what Allah said they should be, how in turn our needs and strengths will be accommodated. In fact, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's relationship with Khadijah was so epic that he didn't even have the need to marry any other woman. He's married her and stayed with her until her death. And even after her death, he spoke so highly of her. He missed her. In fact, Aisha radiallahu anha, who was the third woman he married, who was his third wife, she speaks about her, even though she never met her. She said, even though she never knew Lady Khadijah or got to meet her, she was jealous of her. She had a strong jealousy of this woman. And she said the reason she was jealous of her was because the Prophet frequently spoke of Khadijah. And every time he came upon money or anything, he would regularly send gifts to Khadijah's friends and her relatives, even long after she had died. Okay, and this made Aisha jealous. And by the way, this is a good advice. A lot of people say, oh, Sister Laila, my mother has died, my father has died, or my husband has died, my wife has died. What can I do for them? Okay, alongside the actions of worship that can be done for them, such as giving and charity and paying off their debts. You know, we have a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, send gifts to their friends after their death. Send gifts to their family after their death on a regular basis. You know, and that's what the Prophet did. Even though Khadijah had been dead for years, he always sent gifts to her sister, who he was close with, and to her friends. So that showed the deep love and respect that he had for her, to the point that even Aisha radiallahu anha, who never met her, never knew her, was jealous of her. And we have another hadith, whereas Aisha, out of her jealousy one day, she asked him, she said, Why do you speak about this lady so much? Why do you speak about this woman who's been dead, who was old and didn't have any teeth in her mouth? By the way, Khadijah did have her teeth when she died. Khadijah remained beautiful all the way until her death. She was one of the most beautiful women. But Aisha said that out of jealousy. And Aisha said she quickly regretted that because the prophet cried and he told her, he said, that woman, Khadijah, he said, she stood by me in the beginning of my mission. She believed in me when nobody else did. She protected me. She supported me when I had no one else to do so. And Aisha said she saw the tears in his eyes and she knew that she had hurt him. And so that's when she never said anything bad about Khadijah after that. Okay. So again, you know, if you're looking for as close to perfection as you're going to find, you know, you need to read about the marriage of the Prophet Muhammad and his wife Khadijah. And there's many books out there about it. Okay. We also have the hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about the 4 best women ever created. The first best woman ever created was Mary, the mother of Jesus. And what makes these women the best? Their faith, their belief in Allah, and the way they guarded their chastity and how they sacrificed in the way of Allah. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was the most perfect woman ever created. She even surpassed Eve. Eve is not listed as the most perfect woman. The most perfect woman was Mary, the daughter of Imran. And then after her is Khadijah, radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet. And after her is Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh. And then we have Fatima, the daughter of Khadijah and the Prophet Muhammad. Those are the 4 most perfect women ever created. They surpassed Eve. They surpassed Aisha, radiallahu anha, and all other women because of their belief, their faith, their mannerisms. We also have a hadith that also illustrates the virtues of Khadijah, radiallahu anha. One day, the angel Jibril took on the form of a man and came to meet with the Prophet to teach him the deen. And as he was talking to the Prophet, Khadijah was in the kitchen trying to gather some food together so the Prophet could offer his guest something to eat, because she didn't know that it was the angel Jibril. And the angel Jibril was talking to the Prophet, and he stopped and said, wait a minute. He said, your wife Khadijah is approaching with food. He said, give her my salams and give her the good news that she will have a house, a palace in paradise with servants, and that house will be free of noise, and she will be able to relax, because Khadijah worked hard helping the Prophet to establish Islam. She spent all her millions of dollars in the way of Islam, paving the way for you, paving the way for me. So that shows how virtuous a woman Khadijah radiallahu anha was. And so again, as close to perfection as you will ever find is the story of him and her. Not him and Aisha radiallahu anha. Him and Khadijah radiallahu anha. So how did the Prophet deal with jealousy? As you can see, you know, the way he dealt with it with Aisha was by letting her know, first of all, how painful a thing it is to throw up a dead man's wife to him. And we should learn that. You know, a lot of you sisters, you find out that your husband was married to another woman and they're divorced maybe. You know, oh, you want to talk about that woman out of jealousy. Or maybe your husband has another wife and you want to put her down and make fun of her out of jealousy, because we're jealous by nature. That's how we are. That's why I say you want your polygamy to work, keep them women away from each other. That's what I say. That's why I usually don't even live in the same city with them. Put me in a different city. I don't want to see it, because it's hard for any woman to see her man with another woman, even walking, even talking, even standing in a picture together. So how did the prophet teach Aisha to deal with that? By showing her the pain that it brought him for her to say derogatory marks about someone that she never met, she didn't know, who paved the way for her and everyone else. And as Aisha said, she never spoke badly of Khadijah, never made cracks like that no more. So you brothers need to talk to your wives about that. Let them see how hurtful a thing it is. Okay? So, also, we have something else in Islam that helps us to deal with jealousy, helps us to deal with any disagreements we may have in a marriage. It's called a shura, which is like a meeting or consultation. Allah says in the Quran, once we come upon problems, get someone from your family to represent you, and get someone from her family to represent her, and you all sit down together and try to work it out. This really works. And a lot of you were born Muslim. Those of you who come from Muslim families, this is what you need to do. If you're having problems in your marriage, you don't get on the phone and talk about it to people that can't help. You go to your father and say, I'm having a problem with my husband. Can you negotiate on my behalf? And then tell your husband to go to his father and he can negotiate on his behalf. And you and your husband sit down with both of the fathers and y'all talk together about whatever the problem is. Discuss it. The fathers will be able to give great advice from their experience. This open dialogue in collective decision-making assures that your voices are heard and your voices are valued. Does everybody understand that? And this does not mean that we Muslims do like the LDS people. Let's get that straight. The LDS, they call themselves the polygamists. All their wives live in the same house. And they sit down and have meetings every week. Oh, yeah. Y'all seen that show, Big Love? And the sister wives. All the wives, the head wife is the head honcho. And they all sit down and hold meetings about how much money they going to spend and who going to be with him when and what goes on in the house and who in charge of the children. All that dumb stuff. We don't do that. Like I said, if your husband has more than one wife, that's his wife. She ain't your wife. You don't have nothing to do with that relationship. That's his business. That's his family. You are his family. Y'all not one all. There's no one big happy family. He's got 4 families. That's his problem. You don't dip in that business. When we talk about the concept of shura, we're talking about, as Allah says in the Quran, you get someone to represent you from your family. He gets someone to represent him from his family, and y'all sit down and discuss it. Okay? And when we do that, whenever we try to do what's pleasing to Allah, Allah makes it easy for us. Okay? Now, what if you come from a family that's not Muslim? Well, in that case, you will have an imam to represent you. An imam who specializes in marriage and divorce. And we have a lot of them here in America now. Okay? You will sit down and he will be the one to counsel you and your husband. All right? So that helps when we have marital disputes. And also, like I told you guys before, what goes on between you and your husband stays in your house. You don't share what's going on with you and your husband with another woman, not whether it's a co-wife or a sister or your mother. We don't do that. We only involve the outside when there's a problem that we can't work out, that needs to be worked out. And then in that case, we follow the procedure and the methodology set forth for us by Allah in the Quran, not man-made crap. Remember, guys, we're supposed to live together in peace. We're supposed to live together in contentment. We're supposed to have mercy for each other. You know, if you're a person that's not merciful towards others, you are never going to have a happy marriage. Okay? Mercy is what holds the family together. Mercy is what holds all relationships together, including our relationship with Allah. It's out of the mercy of Allah that we have relationships with him. Okay? Listen to what Allah says about mercy between husband and wife. Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, among his signs is that he created for you from yourselves mates, so that you may find peace in them. And he placed between you affection and mercy. Indeed, these are signs for people who give thought to it. So we're supposed to live in our marriages with mercy, not antagonizing each other, not hurting each other. Every time I have my Islam Q&A show on Friday, I always get a sister that's asking me, oh, Sister Laila, my husband doesn't practice Islam. What can I do? Well, if your husband doesn't practice Islam, he shouldn't be your husband, because that's a doom right there. The man's job is to lead the woman to paradise. How can he lead you to paradise if he don't believe in it? That's why we can't marry non-Muslim men. So whoever your guardian was did you a disadvantage by marrying you to someone who doesn't practice. Or I'll get these women that come to me and say, oh, Sister Laila, I'm miserable. My husband doesn't give me my rights. My husband is mean. He's cruel. We don't talk. What can I do? What can you do? It's time to go. You should have been gone. Allah says we should live together in peace and affection. If you're in a relationship that is not peaceful, don't nobody have time for drama. If you're in a relationship with a man or woman that doesn't give you the affection that you need and crave as a human being, you got to get out of that. That's toxic. That's toxic. We have to have mercy. Listen to what the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. He said, the merciful ones are shown mercy by Allah. So be merciful here on earth, and you will be shown mercy from above. We have to live in kindness with each other, not abuse each other, not neglect each other. I got one sister here. I told y'all about her in the beginning of Ramadan. She still comes here. Ramadan, we in the second week of fasting. Do you all know she still has not heard from her husband? Her husband has not called her or seen her to tell her happy Ramadan, and it's the second week of fasting. I couldn't be in a relationship like that personally. You know, I don't know how she does that. She cries about it, but like I told her, that's shirk el-ashkar, to be discontent with your situation and complain about it and do nothing. It's 2 weeks almost, and your husband didn't call you to wish you happy Ramadan? You haven't heard from him? What type of mercy is that? What kind of relationship is that? That's hurtful. The Prophet said, be merciful to people here on earth, and Allah will show mercy to you. So again, so many of us are lacking mercy. Mercy is a gift that comes from Allah. He doesn't give it to everyone. Allah only gives it to those whom he loves. We have another hadith where the prophet said, if Allah wants to show love to a family, he will instill mercy into the hearts of the family members. So the simple fact that you are a man and you haven't called your wife in 2 weeks, you haven't talked to your wife in 2 weeks, and she know you ain't dead because you got 2 other wives and you with them. You talking to your other 2 wives, but this one you haven't talked to in 2 weeks. That's sad. And we wonder why Allah has sent the war to us. We have deviated so far away from the Sunnah today.